Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us for our webinar, Powering Fax and Centricity, Overview of CV Plus and MultiDoc Integrations. In today's webinar, we're briefly going to run over some logistics, provide a quick intro to Biscom, give an overview of CV Plus and MultiDoc and each of their benefits. We're also going to give a demonstration, and at the end, we'll leave some time to answer some questions. So before we begin, I just wanted to quickly go over a little housekeeping. As you may already know, this is a one-way phone line, so you can hear us, but we can't hear you. So if you are having any issues, please use the question dialog box in the top right corner of your screen to let us know, and we can fix any issues that come up. At the end, we'll answer questions, but if your question isn't answered today, don't worry. We'll make sure to have someone reach out to you individually afterwards. Today's webinar presenter is Kevin Fraser, Biscom's Director of Technical Support and CV Plus and MultiDoc Expert. And I'm Melanie Kavalauskas, Biscom's Marketing Specialist. So Biscom has made many strong alliances and partnerships over the years, especially with GE. We've been working with GE now for more than 10 years, and GE actually did the integration of our product using our APIs that are embedded into Centricity. Biscom's FaxCom fax solution is also the only certified fax provider for GE's CPS EMR and the only vendor connected with GE's phone books. And right now, we have over 1,000 customers in the Centricity world. We've also had many customer success stories with large healthcare organizations and hospitals, including Massachusetts General Hospital, Centene, CVS, and Tufts Medical Center. And we're continuously growing our customer base in healthcare as we innovate further into this industry. So now, before we get into CV Plus and MultiDoc, I'm going to turn things over to our experts so Kevin can talk to you in more detail about the products.
Thank you, Melanie, and thank you everyone for taking time to view this webinar. I'm just going to have a few slides that we're going to go over before we get into the actual live demonstration, just to drive home some key points about the product. So we are looking here at the CV Plus benefits, and one thing that we're going to be reviewing is how you can use FaxCom CV Plus to send fax prescriptions, charts, letters, and documents. You can also use our printer driver that's underneath the hood of all this to basically fax any document from any Windows-based application. So all you would do is go into that application, choose our printer driver, print to it, and it would bring up a fax sending template. And I'll demonstrate that very shortly. We are also the only vendor that is inside of Centricity, so you'll be able to pull from fax recipients that are inside Centricity, and I'll demonstrate that, along with viewing of fax statuses for failed or successful faxes. This is a very important slide. What this does is it shows you the differences between the two offerings we have in this particular space. So FaxCom CV is one product, and FaxCom CV Plus is another product. So FaxCom CV is geared towards the smaller office. Maybe you do 50 faxes a week. You only want to receive to printers. You're going to use analog phone lines. You basically want to be able to fax out from Centricity, and you want to be able to do it, in a cost-effective way. So that would be FaxCom CV. When you want more than just those things I just mentioned, perhaps you want to be able to fax out from any application. Perhaps you want to be able to digitize your phone lines, or you want to be able to virtualize your entire server environment, or you want to integrate with email, be able to send and receive faxes from your email platform. That would push you towards CV Plus. With CV Plus, you do get all of those things I just mentioned, plus other things like being able to archive all your faxes, being able to have unlimited port scalability. So say you were that office that once had 50 faxes a week and now you're doing 5,000 faxes a week, you would be able to scale the system up and have it grow along with your business growth. One other thing, one key thing is at the very bottom is MultiDoc. With CV Plus, you get the ability to have MultiDoc. And what is MultiDoc? Well, a few years ago, Biscom partnered up with a company called Virtual Office Ware. Many of you on the line here, I'm sure, are familiar with Virtual Office Ware. They have a huge presence in the Centricity space. They go to all the Chug events. They develop, a lot of different applications to solve, they're problem solvers. And so we went to them a number of years ago, and we've been going to the Chug events for well over a decade. And, every time people would come up to us, they would say, well, we want to be able to do, these three things that I got up here on the board. We want to be able to batch fax, send multiple faxes at the same time. We also want to be able to enter phone numbers on the fly. We don't want to have to pull the number from an address book every time. And we also want to be able to send to multiple recipients at the same time. And I'll demonstrate all of these things, but these three things are key features that people want, and with MultiDoc, these three features are solved. So prerequisites for MultiDoc. With Biscom, you just have to have CV+. CV is not supported for MultiDoc. So CV+, you would have a board system, or you could virtualize the environment. Also with GE, it's CPS 12 or higher, and it is outbound faxing only. One last slide before we go to the demo. I just want to drive home one key concept here, is that this entire solution is what we call a multi-host environment. Okay, I want you to be able to leverage your investment. Going clockwise from the top right there, GE Centricity, okay? So conceptualize this. You have a queue set up for GE Centricity, and you're sending your faxes out from Centricity, okay? And we're just going to go clockwise. On the bottom right, we have perhaps some MFPs and mainframes on your environment, on your network. You could set up a queue for those. And then on the bottom left there, potentially you want to set up a web client for your radiology or your lab departments. You could set up a queue for them. And then on the top left, email servers or data servers, you could set up queues that would host those environments. So all of these different things I just mentioned can send and receive faxes using the same network, using the same fax servers. They all just have their own queues, their own cover pages, their own log files. They all run autonomously between each other. So at this point, I'm going to switch over to the live demonstration. And here we're looking at CPS 12, and we are logged in as Dr. Harry Winston. Some of you on the line may know that as a popular test doctor. And we're looking at a patient, Don Bassett. So we're going to get right to it. First thing we're going to do is we're going to show how you can send faxes from within Centricity. And then we're going to move into how we can use MultiDoc to do the same thing, except, batching and, the multiple fax addressing and things like that I mentioned earlier. So the first thing we're going to do is we're just going to simply refill a prescription. This is what it was designed for many, many years ago. So I'm going to click on Refill Prescription. Brings up our patient, and we can click Renew for one of the prescriptions. And okay, this prescription needs to be refilled for this particular patient. So what we'll do is we'll hit Print. And notice right here, the printer is showing as the Biscom fax printer. All right, so when we print to that, this prescription, when we print to that, it brings up a fax sending template. And with this fax sending template, we can then select the pharmacy that we want to fax to. Now again, these pharmacies are all pharmacies that are inside of Centricity that have fax numbers. All right, we're the only company in the world that is inside of Centricity like this. If any other vendors out there, they're all exiting Centricity and going to phone books that are outside of Centricity. So this is a pretty key concept to grasp. So I'm going to choose the pharmacy that we want to fax to. In the middle there is the doctor that's doing the prescribing. Here we can select our cover page. We have a default that comes up, but you could develop many different cover pages based on individuals or based on groups. You could give everyone their own custom cover page to give them a little bit of autonomously. So here the subject, we can enter in a test subject. And then we can also enter in test comments. So this data will carry to the cover page if I've got the cover page designed to, to give us the subject and the comments. So when we're ready, we hit fax, and that prescription now goes through the network, and it goes out as a fax. And I'll show you the output in a moment. All right, so that was how to send a prescription. All right, so what if we want to send a document? So I'm going to go to Documents, and here's perhaps an EKG report. Oh, this particular EKG report, I want to send that out as a fax. So what we can do is we select the document that we want. We click Print. We make sure that the Biscom fax printer is selected, and when we print to it, it brings up that sending dialog box again. And here, we can select which recipient we want to fax to. And we can pull from insurance companies. We can go to referring providers, service providers, personal contacts. These are all, again, all inside of Centricity that we're pulling from. So once you're happy with your recipient that you're sending to, you select that recipient. Come down here, you can choose your cover page that you want to have on this particular document, and then enter in any subject or comments. You hit fax, and that particular fax goes out through the network into the fax machine and into the fax server and picks up an available fax port and faxes out. So one of the things that you would want to keep in mind is if you go to Chart Desktop, there is a fax status tab. And this fax status tab, I'm going to sort it properly here, will let you view what you've been sending for faxes. So here, there is our prescription that went out, and it was 2 pages, cover page and the prescription itself, as well as all pages were successfully transmitted. It shows you down here at the bottom of the screen and other details about a time, date, number of pages, things like that. If there was a failure in here, you would see a failure message, and you would be able to, the buttons are grayed out at the moment because there's no failures, but if you had one, you could hit resend, or you could delete the job if you wanted to. One thing to also note is if you go back to the chart, I'm going to scroll back to the top of this as well. Here's that prescription that we sent out earlier. It was a refill. The prescriptions do get written to the patient's chart, and it tells you, where it went, fax number, and other, relevant details. So this is the purest form of faxing from within Centricity. Okay, so now notice as I'm doing this, we're sending one at a time. Okay, this is the way the product was designed. We sent one prescription. We sent, one document. Well, what if we want to send more than one document? We can use MultiDoc to do that. So up on the ribbon bar here, you have a MultiDoc button that you would be able to press. And when you press the MultiDoc button, what will happen is it's going to go out to the server, and it's going to authenticate off the server. Now, I have this system set up to authenticate off the server because I wanted to show you the login screen that comes up. But normally it would just go, if you have Active Directory set up, it would automatically go right into MultiDoc. But I wanted to be able to demonstrate this particular screen. So you could set it up rather than having, Active Directory authentication. You could set it up so that users just log in individually. Okay. So what we've done now is we've logged into MultiDoc, and this is the MultiDoc welcome screen. And the way this screen is structured is you've got the patient up top. You have these 4 tabs, step 1, 2, 3, 4. And then down below you have previous and next. So as you want to navigate through these tabs, you can either hit the previous or next buttons, or you can just select the tab at the top where you want to go. All right. So what this did was it pulled in every single document, signed document, for Don Bassett. So if I hit this select all down here, there's 99 documents that were pulled in for this particular patient. So what you can do is you can select and deselect, which documents that you want to send out as one document, as one fax. Now, keep in mind that all of these fields are also sortable. By just clicking on the name here, you can, the name of the file, the column, you can sort alphabetically, regardless of which one of these you're pressing. You also have a grill that's available to you where you can home in on certain types. So say somebody calls up and says, I want all the lab reports for this particular patient. You could bring up just the lab reports and then just hit this button down here, which would select them all for you. So that's something to keep in mind, that you can home in on certain types of documents by choosing the grill feature. Another thing to keep in mind is that when you're sending documents, you can also see this ATT. Any documents that have attachments, you can also send the attachments, with out as a fax too. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select 2 or 3 documents here. Okay, we've got four documents with an attachment. All right, and then I'm going to go to the next tab. And here is where you can address who the faxes, who's going to receive these faxes. So I'm going to just select 2 or 3 people. These are all, based on the recipients for Don Bassett. And you can also add some on the fly. So say we wanted to test. It will just say 6. And when we hit plus, we got to put the phone number in first, of course. And when we hit plus, what it does is it adds that into this patient's chart, as well as it pre-selects it for faxing. So much easier than having to create an entire record inside of Ware. So say somebody's on vacation, they're at a pharmacy, they'll never be at again, but they need a prescription sent there. You would be able to just come in here and put in who's going to receive the fax, the phone number, and enter it in on the fly. That's your faxing on the fly. So faxing on the fly, we've chosen 3 different recipients that are going to receive this fax, and we've also selected multiple documents to go out at once. So those are the 3 key things that MultiDoc can promises to provide, and it does. So step 3, here is service providers. Any service providers that have fax numbers, any service providers system-wide that have fax numbers would be listed here, and you could select any of those that you wanted to also receive a fax as well. And then final step is step 4, the sending tab. So here it does a recap. We've got 3 recipients. We've got these documents that are going out and any attachments with them. Here's our subject, and down here at the bottom is the cover page that we want for this particular document. for this particular fax bundle, and then anything you want to come over on the memo, you can put in here as well. So say you wanted to, oh wait a minute, I don't want to send to a certain person. You could come back over here and make changes. Say you want to add or deselect something. You could make some changes and select or deselect certain documents. So when you're ready, you can go back to step 4, send, and you can click send. What will happen at that point is it will grab those documents and combine them into a TIFF faxable image type, and then send them to the fax server, where it will grab an available fax port line, and it will fax outbound. So what I'm going to do is go through one more time, but I want to just show you the power of this whole thing. So I'm going to log in. What I'm going to do is select everything. So I've got all 99 documents. I'm going to say next. I'm going to choose 3 different people. Next. And on the final tab, I'm going to choose my cover page and hit send. So I know I did that fast, but I did it on purpose, okay? What I've just done is in the span of about 15 seconds, I took the entire patient's chart and I'm sending it out as a fax. Okay, to do that without MultiDoc would take you hours. I mean, literally hours to do that. I mean, depending on the amount of documents that are in the patient's chart. So it's a pretty powerful product, and it's something you definitely want to, consider for your organization. So, we've been sending a lot of documents, and so what I want to do now is go to a folder where I keep everything that I'm sending. All right, and we're going to take a look at some of the output of what we've been sending and what it looks like. So the first thing I sent was a prescription. All right, so here's our cover page, with the GE logo, and pretty standard stuff. It's got the date time at the top, number of pages, and so on. And if we go to the next page, there is actually, this is not the prescription. This is the actual document that we sent out, and this is a test document that went out. And so we fax at 200 dots per inch for a little bit more granularity and quality in the fax. And this particular viewer that we're using is the Faxcom viewer. It's a custom viewer that we built that comes stock with the product. So if you wanted to, you could make it, changes. You could, put arrows, to highlight certain things. You could, add in test data. Look here. And then you could, put in whatever you wanted, that you wanted someone else to see, and then you could then fax that document, out with these annotations in it. So powerful stuff. So here we have another document, and this is, oh, you know what it is? This is the, hold on a minute. There we go. Yeah, I had sent the same document to multiple people. That's why it's coming up with, multiple. There we go. And here's the first document we sent, and that was the prescription. So there's our cover page, 2 pages, the date and time, and then the second page is the actual prescription. Again, we're sending this out at 200 dots per inch. So it's going to be as clear as it can possibly be on the other side. If the other side can handle the 200 dots per inch, it's going to look pretty clear on their side. So coming back up here to the top, what we'll do is we'll go to this document here, and I'm going to hit thumbnail. And what that does is it shows you the number of pages that are inside this document. So here is the actual attachment that went out. And again, it looks a little grainy because, we're going to do the best we can. It is an EKG, but we do go after attachments. I just wanted to demonstrate that, we can fax attachments. And then here is the last document that we sent. This is the one where I said, you know, I'm going to grab the entire patient's chart and I'm going to send that out. So what I'm going to do is hit thumbnail, and it's going to take a few seconds here because it's pulling in, you know, well over 100 pages. And it's going to create thumbnails for all those pages, and it's going to let you see that, you know, with a couple of key clicks earlier, I was able to select the entire patient's chart. And what it does is it, you know, creates a TIFF image, and, you know, it has, you know, these well over 100 documents in here, and you can, you know, take a look, you know, and home in on certain documents that you want to look at. So, again, very powerful utility. As far as receiving of faxes goes, we are not allowed as a company to receive directly into Centricity. Okay, so our objective here from Biscom's standpoint is when a fax is received, we can convert that fax to a TIFF or a PDF formatted file, and we would then save it to a folder of your choice. Could either be a local folder or a UNC path to a network folder. So here's an example. I have this folder that I call RX Fax, and I've got all these files in it. Okay, so you as a company could then use something like DocuTrack or you know, Index Logic. I know there used to be a company, Encore Imaging. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different companies out there that are doing it, where you could then use those applications, such as DocuTrack, to look at this folder and then take these images and import them into Centricity. So that is how you would receive a fax using this particular product. Now, one last thing I wanted to show you is I'm going to bring up, let's see here, I'm going to bring up WordPad. Okay, so we have a document here in WordPad. Okay, but this could be, keep in mind, this could be any Windows-based application. You know, as long as you know, you bring up the application, you type out your data, as long as you select the Biscom printer from the printer list, it will bring up a fax sending template. Now, bear in mind, we're in WordPad, so we're outside of Centricity. This sending template will look a little different outside of Centricity. Now you're in our world, okay? So you have a lot more functionality that's built into this particular sending of this particular fax. Now, the template that you're looking at is our suite, you know, suite template, Faxcom suite template. But if you had a web client, you know, you could bring up a different template there. Say you were using email integration and you wanted to send a fax from there, you could bring up a different template there. But for the sake of discussion, we're bringing up the suite template. So here you can type in manually where you want to fax to, or you can select from a phone book if you had entries in a phone book. Over here is the sender. That's going to carry to the cover page if you've got it set up to show the sending information. Here's the cover page if we wanted to select a cover page. And you could also enter a memo if you wanted to put a memo in. You could also schedule to go out immediately, which is a default, or you could go to a different date and time by simply selecting delay until, and it would give you a date and time for the document to go. And one thing to note on that, when you select a different date, it'll go into the server and wait there and then go. So you could literally like delay it, say a week from now, and then shut your PC off, okay? And the job would still go out a week later, even if your PC was still off. So that's pretty invaluable to know. Down here on the bottom right is the folder that you know, you can you save your documents to if you wanted to save all outgoing faxes. And on the bottom left is the TIFF converted document. So we're in WordPad and it converted over to a TIFF image. And when you're ready, you just click send and it goes. So the key point to understand here is that any Windows-based application, if you print to the printer driver, you will be able to develop fax traffic for your organization. So that's very nice to be able to do. So at this point, the demo is done. I've showed you how to send from within CPS. Okay, we've sent prescriptions, we've sent documents. We've also used MultiDoc to load up and send the entire chart and a little bit less as well. We've also analyzed some of the documents that we've been sending. We've also discussed how you can receive directly into Centricity, as well as how to send from Windows-based applications. So at this point, I'm going to turn things back over to Melanie, and we'll go through some questions.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for that in-depth demo and overview. So it looks like we have a bunch of questions that came in. We're just going to have a brief pause, everybody, to just scroll through them really quick. Just hold on for one moment. Awesome. Hi, everybody. We're back. All right. So one question that came in, Kevin, was, are the attachments both internal and external attachments?
Yes. Yep. Any of the attachments that are inside of Centricity would be carried over. If this question, which I believe is referring to MultiDoc, yes, those both internal and external would show up in the MultiDoc selection screen, and you would be able to pick those.
Awesome. Sounds great. And where do you build the custom cover pages?
Okay, the custom cover pages can be built right at either an administrator workstation, or you could give the cover page editor program to even a user, an end user. It's a very lightweight program, and it's very simple to create cover pages using that application. And then once you build the cover pages, you just give them to the fax administrator on your network, and they would store them on the fax server and be able to send, then they would be selectable by users or groups.
Awesome. Another question we had was, with the current product, are you only able to fax attachments with the MultiDoc feature?
Yes. Right now it's faxing only. There is the idea floating around about being able to expand it so that you would be able to either like fax or print or email. You know what I mean? You would be able to pick like a radial button to be able to take that same output that you're faxing and then also send it to maybe a printer or an email address.
Let's see. Another one we have is, does MultiDoc work with GE EMR?
That is a really huge question. A lot of times people will ask, is MultiDoc compatible with EMR? And it is not. And I can tell you, just from the street, that it right now there is no incentive to create it for EMR. EMR is Oracle-based, and MultiDoc is SQL-based, and and CPS 12 is also SQL-based. So that's the main driving force behind it. So as of right now, it's CPS 12 and higher.
Awesome. Thank you, Kevin. We'll take one more. Can all of this be virtualized?
Absolutely. You would need to have CV Plus, and just remember, when you virtualize, there's no fax board involved, which is great. Also, you would be able to have Centricity and MultiDoc itself both live on that same VM, so you don't have to have them on separate boxes. They can all live in the same place and coexist. And one last thing that I wanted to bring up before we leave the questions is, many times I get the question in the field, are you HIPAA compliant? And one thing that I want to state about that is, it's not, is Biscom HIPAA compliant? It's more about, Biscom can help you become HIPAA compliant using this particular product, the products that I've just shown you. We've helped hundreds and hundreds of our customers become HIPAA compliant using this product. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Well, it looks like that sums up the majority of our questions. If we didn't get a chance to answer your question, don't worry. We'll make sure to have someone reach out to you shortly. We'll also be sending out a copy of the webinar recording, and you'll get that in about 24 hours from now. Kevin, did you have anything you wanted to add quickly before we wrap up?
No, thank you, Melanie. Thank you, everyone, for taking the time to view the webinar, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Kevin. Great. Thanks, everyone, for being such active participants. We really appreciate it. Thanks for all of your great questions. If you would like to learn even more about the product, please feel free to send us an email at info@biscom.com, and we hope to see you next time. Thank you so much. Bye.